You're listening to Systemic Era Podcast. The failure was designed.
Go to have insightful unprecedented GOP civil war exploding over JD Vance, based on an article by Robson Cooper. The Republican close war over the succession is already here, not an outrage cycle. Vice President JD Vance is being hit by a wave of attacks from his own side, with never Vance functioning less like an argument than a loyalty test. The immediate trigger is his posture on Iran after a July 15 appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast, where he described himself as a reasonable moderate and dismissed claims that he is serving hidden interests. The broader fight is about who gets to define the post-Trump Republican Party and who gets to inherit it. This is not random internet turbulence. It is a power contest playing out through influencers, donors, and aligned media figures. Who actually holds power? Vance is the vice president, but that does not mean he controls the machinery around him. Trump remains the central power broker, and even he has already said Vance is philosophically a little bit different on Iran. That is an important sentence in the South because it tells you where the rebel fault line runs, not between the base and the establishment in some abstract sense, but between factions competing to shape Republican war policy and succession. The people boosting the attacks are not powerless outsiders. They include prominent commentators like Ben Shapiro and Mark Thiessen, plus the donor media infrastructure that wanted Rubio or Bourbon before Trump picked Vance. That is institutional power operating through a digital surface. The misdirection team. The article treats the campaign as possibly inauthentic, maybe even foreign influence, and that may be true in part. But the larger misdirection is the attempt to frame this as a mystery of social media manipulation instead of what it is, factional discipline. When Vance is accused, without evidence, of making policy decisions unsupported by President Donald Trump, the charge is not factual analysis. It is a warning shot. The point is to remind him that in this ecosystem, deviation from the hawkish line on Iran is treated as disloyalty, and disloyalty is punished publicly. The rebel scandal is not that anonymous accounts exist. It is that the whole political class still expects obedience to donor-backed orthodoxy while pretending the shouting is the whole story. Iran as a test case. Vance's offense is not just his own. It is that he signaled he may not be fully captured by the pro-Israel hardline that still commands enormous influence in Republican circles. That is why the criticism spiked after the podcast, and why his mention of a reported influence operation set off a coordinated backlash. The source names the actors clearly enough: a former Trump campaign official tied to a pro-Israel influence effort, conservative commentators, and party insiders looking for rival. This is what intra-party coercion looks like when it is dressed up as spontaneous opinion. The frontrunner problem. The most revealing detail is that the attacks do not seem to be working. Vance remains the frontrunner in 2028 Republican primary polling, which means the usual machinery of elite disapproval is colliding with a voter base that is not especially responsive to elite panic. That is why the pro-Vance camp is eager to call the opposition not organic. They need the story to be about fake outreach because the alternative is worse for them, a real schism over what Republican power is for, who gets to wield it, and whether the succession will be controlled by Trump-aligned insurgents or the old hawkish gatekeepers in new packaging. The latter pattern. This is what authoritarian politics looks like inside a major party before it hardens into full control factions policing one another through media ecosystems. Policy disagreement treated as betrayal and public debate reduced to tactical noise. The surface drama is about Vance. The structure underneath is about discipline, succession, and the management of elite power. The article is right to know the scale of the revolt. What it misses or sophos is that the world itself is part of the system. That online pylon is not a glitch in Republican politics. It is one of the main instruments by which Republican power now maintains itself. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternate for today's article, with the automated voice of Diana. Thanks for listening.